That's it for the cost recovery on events. Did anybody have any questions or discussion about that? Okay. Okay.
On the athletic field use fees, you said it was the least expensive of all the venues that you, or all the cities that you compared it to. When was the last time you adjusted the athletic field use fees?
We did that. That was 2007, correct? It was. It used to be $85 per field per day.
2007.
2007. There are some additional fees that aren't listed here. Let's say a tournament goes to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. They can have those fields and use those fields for 16 hours a day for that fee. There are some additional charges. Let's say there's some extraordinary, we have to go on striped fields, and there's some extra work that needs to be done on those. We're kind of trying to do an hourly fee on that. We're finding that, for instance, at the sport and event complex, if we want to subdivide those big adult fields down into youth size, we need to go in and we'll have to, or someone will have to go in and do some striping on that, and we're trying to figure out what that fee would be to do that, and then the cost of taking that up and cleaning it up when it's done.
A question I have is we look at St. George, which is probably the closest. Now, in St. George, of course, they built that new 7-plex complex, and in these fees I know in St. George they drag the fields for the people on every game. They take care of the trash. They take care of the bathrooms, and in our $150 fee, we do not do that. Correct?
That's correct.
So we need to probably realize that when you look at that $300 fee, they're giving more for what they're doing per field, if that is my understanding. So, and I think that's important for everyone to realize that.
Okay. And that information comes out a little easier on this page here, which says athletics and leisure services, rec center events fee structure changes. I believe it's the second page on there. It looks a lot like that. And Barb, that's where it talks about in 07, the fees were $85. It's kind of more of a historical snapshot of the fees alone. So that shows you the reservation setup fee, the extra hours, $50, lights per hour for a non-tournament. Say a group wants to come and work out on the field, so we'll charge them $25 an hour for the light fee. We were hoping that the committee might take a look at, if we're going to take a look at those kind of fees, if we do provide a benefit for a non-profit organization as opposed to a for-profit, whether or not we do drag the infield after every game instead of every third game, and then the field striping, whether or not we require a concession stand deposit.
So Brian, is that the thought to actually charge $150 for even the non-profit rec leagues in town in the future, or is that? I mean, where's this $150? Is that's what we're currently charging for?
Excuse me. Can I get your name, please?
Doug Reith.
Thank you, Doug. Go ahead.
Is that for out-of-town venues coming in that we're charging at the complex, or is this a potential fee that's going to be talked about being charged to the Little League and to the soccer program here?
I'm not sure at what point you came in, but there's a page where we list the organizations that use the field for no cost. It really doesn't,
okay.
As long as it doesn't negatively impact the scheduling for other events, and we kind of work things out. Doesn't require any labor on the parts. You know, we have our parks here for people to enjoy and use. And that's why we build parks and trails, and we'll see, you know, people come and go out in any number of our parks and throw the frisbee around and, you know, do various activities. And our intention is not to not to have a park ranger at every place collecting money from anybody that steps foot on the property. I don't think we want to get to that point, but
And I think
that
it's
was
a-
not the intention, to
Okay.
answer your question.
I also happen to be the president of the FC Mesquite Youth Soccer Program here in town. We just finished our third season, which we started with about 75 kids. And the seasons are in the spring and the fall. We're now up to over 300 kids with an additional 50 to 75 kids that are traveling and competitive. And we're a nonprofit, and we have to scholarship quite a few of our families here in town. So as these fees are being talked about, I know when I grew up as a youngster, the rec fields were part of the donation from the city to keep the kids off the street and to teach them ethics and work habits and on and on and on. So we're in big fear that if some of these fees come into our programs, it's going to be devastating to us. So.
And if the Madam Chair wouldn't mind, I'd like to take a step back and maybe throw out some of the philosophical things to take a look at as we look at this, and I promise I won't be long-winded here.
All right.
Would that be all right?
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up. Go ahead.
Not a question, but just a comment. It doesn't increase your department's expenses very much to number the pages in your reports.
Well, they were, I don't know, I'd have to take a look at it. I guess I get paid to do that no matter how long it takes. Those are spreadsheets that have been combined together, so they weren't numbered when they started out. That would be a good suggestion. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm just going to go ahead and just go through this real quickly. Some of the things, the reason why we provide residents with a variety of recreational activities and opportunities, you can take a look at. Some of them are provided at no cost. You can go to a park, you can walk on a trail, or at low cost, or at minimal cost, or at full cost, where the full cost of providing that activity is borne by the user. And some of the factors you consider is, are there any legal ramifications? The fees collected shouldn't exceed the reasonable cost incurred by the city. Continuity with a general plan or the community objectives. Feasibility and cost of fee collection. There was an example, I've read over and over again about a city implementing a fee, and it cost more to pay someone to be there to collect the fee than it did, and the collection and the use of that facility went way down. The needs and abilities of special or underserved populations. Programmatic intent, so the relation to other programs provided by other entities in the city. And then the marketplace, what do other public agencies or other private entities charge for the same program of service? So with hospitality industry being our biggest industry here in town, with the gaming, hotels, restaurants, even the retail, they get a payoff from the visitors coming to town, as we've seen. They actually do impact. I take a look at the sport and event complex, and I take somebody up there at least once or twice a month from out of town, and they're very impressed with it. We wouldn't have a facility like that if we didn't have these out-of-town tournaments coming here. And the high school teams can go up there and practice every single day. And they clean up after themselves, and it's a great relationship we have, and that's made possible because way back when the city fathers and the people were energized here to create that kind of an environment, a lot of people know about Mesquite because of that beacon, that pioneer field right off the freeway, that big patch of green grass that looks absolutely gorgeous, and they know about us because of that.